Thanks for joining us for today's trip as we do once a month to the beautiful great outdoors in the fabulous backcountry of northeastern Nevada. We have Julie Gabrielson, Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator. And where did the month go? It's crazy.
It's already gone. I don't know where it went, but I don't feel like I got to experience much of it.
Well, let's just hope for this nice spring weather. You know, it's an on again, off again thing. Wonderful Sportsman's Expo, hearing rave reviews. Julie, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always a good time. We really look forward to that event every year, and already starting to work pretty hard and hot and heavy on the 26 event, and hopefully some new things that we get to add to it this next go round. So
well, that's all you can hope for is lots of support to grow even bigger and better.
Yep.
So let's start out by talking about some volunteer opportunities, shall we?
So we've got a really unique volunteer opportunity. This is the second year that we've hosted the annual or the Save Cummins Lake Pike Out. And how that works is we're calling all of our local anglers to actually volunteer. I know it's a terrible job to volunteer to fish out as many northern pike from Cummins Lake as you possibly can. This is actually a big event that we're going to keep going until we see fit that we no longer need to have it going. And it's northern pike, they're aquatic invasive species, and they were actually illegally planted in Cummins Lake, and they're incredibly detrimental on the fishery itself. So in this event, it's actually a little bit of a competitive event. It is free to enter, though. The anglers will be split into 3 different age groups, and first, second, and third place prizes will be awarded for each for the biggest pike caught and the most pike caught. The age group categories will be 5 to 9 years old, 10 to 15, and then 16 and over. All the participants, you do have to register ahead of time for those prize categories, and the entry is limited, and that's for a safety aspect because a lot of people bring boats out, and so we want to make sure that we're managing the number of boats that are out on the water. So make sure that you register as soon as possible. Again, the registration is free. You can go find it at register-ed.com and just look up under an angling event or volunteer opportunities. For more information on that, you can call Nicole Hamlin at 775-777-2388.
That's fantastic. And this is near Ely, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
it's
good.
Just south of Ely.
Okay. Just want to make sure people know. But as you said, this is growing in popularity as well.
It is. So. Yeah. It was a really great turnout last year. There was some weather that had come in the day prior to the event last year, so the fishing wasn't great. But our winning pike caught was still a 25-pound pike, almost 25 pounds. So there's, I mean, it still can be a good event, but ideally we want to pull a lot more out of there than what we were able to last year. So hopefully the weather holds and treats us a little bit better this year for it.
Keep it going. And then another Eastern Region volunteer project is also on the horizon.
Yeah, so our annual Guzzler build. Last year we had about 60 volunteers and staff out on the build, and this is a family-friendly event. It is a full weekend event that we bring people out for. We're building the Robber's Roost Guzzler the weekend of June 28th, and that is about 30 miles out of Ely. And it's going to be another 10,000 gallon water development. Benefits elk, mule deer, and the pronghorn antelope in the area. Again, family friendly. We can find a job for absolutely anybody that comes out to help out. We do put a big shout out to the Elko Bighorns Unlimited and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation because we do partner with them to make this happen. We feed everybody. You know, you come out Friday afternoon, we feed you dinner. Saturday morning, we feed you breakfast. We take you out on site, build the Guzzler. We have sandwiches and lunch on site. And then we have a big dinner Saturday evening and then a smaller breakfast on Sunday morning before we send you home. So it really is a cool camping experience along with a great way to help out with the Department of Wildlife and help our wildlife.
And we do know the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has their banquet coming up at the Elko Convention Center, I think. So
I'm not sure which building it is, but it is coming up. Yep,
yeah.
It is coming up. Yep.
So that's a great chance to support them. These conservation efforts are huge for Nevada Department of Wildlife. And as you mentioned, call Nicole Hamlin, right, for more information on that one. Okay.
Yep. Our good friend Nicole Hamlin, 775-777-2388, and she can get you lined out on both of those activities actually. So lots of good things coming up.
And speaking of, you are lining out summer fishing, a lot going on.
We have got a lot of programs coming up for this summer. We'll have more updates as we get closer, but a lot of the events are going to be in June and July. I believe there also is one scheduled for August. But in June, we've got the Rediscover Cave Lake event. The lake is expected to reopen fairly soon here, and so we're going to celebrate that on June 7th. Free Fishing Day is going to be the following weekend. We've got an Intro to Bass Fishing Clinic, Intro to Float Tube Clinic, and we've got the Angel Lake Kids Fishing Derby that'll take place in July like we always do it. And we do have a few more other things that are on the schedule that we just haven't dialed in all of the details yet for. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated through here. You can watch our social media, and you can also watch that register-ed page because that'll show any of those events as they come up and get ready for registration to open.
Okay. Again, it's going to be a busy, fun summer for families, and fishing is so inexpensive. It's mostly just getting there, right?
It really is. Yeah,
yes,
it really
getting
is.
There. And then speaking of kids, how about the education programs that are well underway? Hearing amazing things about Trout in the Classroom releases. They're coming home muddy.
Yep, they're coming home muddy for sure, or frozen, because we have had a couple releases this last couple weeks with some snowstorms involved. So
that's nature.
It is. It really is. So Nicole St. John, she is our wildlife education coordinator, and she's got school programming like Know Your Nevada, owl pellet dissections, and the Skins and Skulls. They're still in full swing, but she does have a little bit of room left on her calendar to put a couple more in there in the late spring programming. So if you're interested, you can give her a call at 775-777-2391. She's also got Wild Week coming in. That event was created by Norv Dallin, which is my predecessor by a couple, several years ago. And we brought it back a couple years ago when Nicole St. John came on board. And it's during the Elko County School District spring break. It's March 31st through the 4th. We do partner with some others to help make this happen. It just makes it a little bit more fluent and offers a little bit more variety for what the kids can do. Nevada Outdoor Schools, the Northeastern Nevada Museum, Elko Library are just some of the partners that we hook up with on that. So for ages 8 and up, they'll adventure through Nevada's habitats where they'll discover secrets of some of our native wildlife. They'll dive into the world of conservation and even have an opportunity to shoot some archery. The exact locations, they will vary by day along with the activities, but they will run from 9 a.m. to 12 on each of those days. You can find out more at the registered-ed/programs/Nevada. You'll find Monday through Thursday's events under wildlife education, and you'll find Fridays under archery education. If all of that is too confusing for you, reach out to us and we'll help you navigate through that. But Nicole St. John, she is the organizer on that, and her number again is 775-777-2391.
These fill up fast, and they're free, Julie?
They are free. Yep,
wow,
they
that's
are free.
Incredible. Because these inspire so many students in so many ways.
They really do, and it gives them something new and different to do when they might otherwise just be sitting at home during spring break because mom and dad still have to work or whatever the situation may be. So it just gives them something new, a fun learning,
Absolutely. Getting outdoors, finding out what it's all about. So speaking of kind of an unusual, how about the Sage Grouse Experience? I think they had shirts one year. Maybe they still do them that say, "Are you Sage Grouse Experience?"
I do remember that shirt.
Yes.
We do not have T-shirts now.
Okay,
so I'll put that out there right now. But we partner with the Northeastern Nevada Stewardship Group, Friends of Rubies, and a few other partners to bring this event every year. This year we're changing it up a little bit. Instead of a Saturday morning, it's going to be Friday, April 18th. You'll meet at the NDOW office at 4:30 a.m. It is a very early morning. And we typically round it up at about 10 a.m. is when we finish everything up. We provide all the transportation from NDOW to the lek site. We go out there. We let you guys see the grouse on the lek doing their mating dance and experiencing that in the early morning. Then we bring you back to the NDOW office where we'll provide you with some breakfast and some guest speakers that are our sage grouse experts. Where you can ask some questions and just learn a little bit more about the sage grouse and what they deal with. Again, we've got registration open for that. You can find that information on Facebook. as well as our register-ed page as well. All participants do need to sign up. We actually sign you up as volunteers because lek counting is a volunteer opportunity. And so ultimately our goal with this event is to recruit some volunteers that are willing to go out and count these leks, not just even in the Elko area, but statewide. We've got a bunch of leks out there, but limited staff to be able to get out to all of them. So we try to use volunteers as often as we can for it. Registration deadline is April 15th. Again, Nicole St. John can give you more information on that. Her number is 775-777-2391.
Yep. And again, not to really, but we always like to emphasize that look at these partners. These are great volunteer partners, and it really does say a lot about the confidence the community has in Department of Wildlife. So
yes,
very
yes,
cool.
It does.
Yes. So when it comes to operations, people are looking at boating season, licensing different things, getting out hunting, right?
It's starting to get busy. Yep. And our big game application period opens on the 24th, or let's back that up because this is going to play after the 24th, isn't it?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So our application period for big game hunts, that application period opened on March 24th, and it's going to run through May 7th. So you've got plenty of time to get those applications in, go in and do your research and figure out just what units and areas that you want to hunt in. The best platform for using NDOWlicensing.com is the Google Chrome platform. So if you're having some struggles with that website on another platform, try moving over to Google because that will make a difference. Your license is good for 1 year, and it does include all your stamps except for the federal duck stamp. But remember, if you purchased a license last year during the application period, you will have to purchase another one for this application period, even if it expires a little bit later than when you're applying. It's just the way that the application period and that new year-round licensing, all that, the regulations line out with that. We recommend and we highly encourage you do not purchase a vessel without a title. It is that it's coming into the yard sale season. A lot of people are looking to offload some things, and sometimes the titles are not available for various reasons. It can be a real headache for you if you do purchase a vessel without a title. So before you do so, call the office, call Natalie or Sydney, and let them talk you through what the process might be for that to determine if that's a purchase that you definitely want to make. Their number is 775-777-2300, and they can get you lined out on what that might take.
Perfect. And then along the same lines, if you are fortunate enough to have your own OHV, you do need to have it inspected and registered.
It does, but we don't do that.
Exactly.
NDOW does not perform any of the OHV registrations. You can go to DMV for that. You can also go online to ohv.nv.gov for more information.
Okay, that's for any number of off-road vehicles. All
Correct.
Right? Okay,
Yep.
Perfect. And then if you are someone who goes out trapping, for example, there are some questionnaires out there.
Yeah, your fur bearer questionnaires will be on the licensing website. You can look under the return cards and survey section, and that's in your account, and those should be popping up fairly soon for you to go in and take care of. Keep an eye out for it. If you had a trapping license, you will need to complete this survey.
Okay, keep that current. And then on to a big game. I'm just looking at this going, what? We're not even into spring totally yet.
I know.
Yeah. But this is what it's all about.
We're barely finishing winter, and I say that because all of our winter hit in March. So
Yep. Welcome.
Yeah. So our 2025 and 26 big game seasons and applications book, they are out and available. You can find them online, or you can get the hard copy in any of the usual vendor spots. Anybody that sells licensing, they should have some, but we also have them in the office. One thing to remember when you're looking through those is quotas listed in that book for the seasons. They're from last year. So those are really just as a reference only to kind of give you a general idea of what it might look like for this year. The actual quotas won't be set until May 2nd and 3rd with the State Board of Wildlife Commissioners meeting in Reno. And those will take place for the 25-26 hunting season.
But you do have a little sneak preview for us of what we might look forward to in the herds.
Yeah. So they're starting to wrap up some of their surveys, and we're seeing 3 years of above average precip coupled with the mild winters or mild winter. They've led to a really excellent recruitment rate for our big game species in general. The Eastern region bios, they've observed the highest sample rate as well as the highest fawn ratio ever, is what they're telling us. Wrapping up our elk flights, but the recruitment rate also should be in the top 3 for this century, is what they're looking towards. We're still working through some of the spring deer flights, but the results from the surveyed unit groups, so far, they've really all been pretty exceptional.
That's great news, the health of the herd, certainly, and what the landscape might be going through right now. And I'm just thinking get those big game books, because they're kind of like the seed catalog for hunters, right?
Yeah.
Seed catalogs for gardeners. And start your dreaming.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, everybody looks forward to that opener of applications. And a lot of people are, they spend weeks doing their research even before applications open up to determine, okay, where are we going to go this year? Where are we going to apply? What's our big wish list, and what are we willing to settle for, and just kind of balance it out from there.
It's so cool because it is part of the culture, certainly the history and legacy of the Great Basin, but at the same time, it's so important for the economy. I mean, every single time a big truck rolls up to the gas station, you're just like, wow.
It does.
Yes,
it does.
It means a lot.
Yep.
So talking about that, we want to keep it safe out there in the landscape, right?
Yeah, so shed hunting season is closed on public lands in Elko, Eureka, Lander, Lincoln, Nye, and White Pine counties. That closure lasts from January 1st through April 30th. That we've also got a newly passed shed ethics online training requirement for anybody that wants to collect sheds after April 30th. That passed a couple years ago, so I think we're in year 3 or 4 of that at this point. The class is free. You can find it at huntered.com. To get that taken care of. And that should be opening up usually around the 1st of April that class will start popping up in there for you to take. Again, it's a free online class. You don't have to go into a classroom to get that done, but you do have to renew that every year for shed season opener on May 1st. Make sure your licenses are renewed and that you're in possession prior to that first fishing trip as well. So that all kind of ties in with your licensing and your certifications for when you're out in the field.
And if you are out there looking ahead to boating season, a lot of people are now preparing their vessels.
They are. And I mean, we've got some open waters out there. So I've seen some evidence of people going out on their boats already. So just don't go in the water.
Yes. That's why those PDFs or PFDs are important.
Exactly. Yes. And you really need to know what is required for your vessel, whether you've got an existing vessel and you're experienced with this, or you're coming out with a brand new vessel. Make sure you know what the requirements are for those different vessels, and how to operate your vessel as well in all situations. But some things to really keep in mind is PFDs, your personal flotation devices. They're required for all passengers under the age of 12. And you need to have, so the 12 and under have to be wearing them. And anybody over 12 on the vessel, there needs to be an adequate number of PFDs available for the number of people that are on the vessel, whether they're wearing them or not. Just another safety plug, wear them. They don't do you any good when you're in an emergency and you can't get to them, or somebody can't get to them quick enough to throw out to you. So just wear them. They make some really nice PFDs nowadays that they're not overly cumbersome. They're not big and bulky. They're not going to get in your way with what you're doing. Some of them are inflatable to where you just pull a plug once you hit the water, if that's the case. There's lots of options out there, and the best way to save your life or somebody else's life is to just be wearing the PFD when you're on the water.
Thanks, Julie. We're talking with Julie Gabrielson, Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator, and that's why they used to call them life jackets.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
No.
So speaking of getting on the water, people are fishing year-round here in northeastern Nevada.
We have a way of doing that, don't we?
Yes, we make our own fun.
Yep, so spring stocking in the eastern region, it's beginning this month in White Pine County and Elko County later in the month. All our area reservoirs are ice-free except for wild horse. Water at the edge of Wild Horse, though, is softening, and the anglers should really use caution when accessing the ice because it's pretty soft in some areas. So there are some areas of 8 inches of ice or more in some of the main reservoir, but the ice, the thickness is still variable. So it's really important that you're paying attention to what's happening out there. I would avoid taking any equipment out there, your OHVs, snowmobiles, vehicles of any kind, and just keep it, foot traffic only, but be very aware that the water is and the ice is variable. Our water temperatures out at South Fork Reservoir, they're about low 40s after this last set of storms. Some of the trout are being caught by both shoreline and boat anglers, and the success is expected to improve with the warmer weather that's going to be continually happening.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes, as we move further into spring.
Yeah, we always get to tease the taste of spring and then maybe a couple more fall starts, but we're going to get there.
Yeah,
we're going to get there. So speaking of, there'll be some trout stocking as well?
Yeah, there's going to be some trout stocking throughout different waters beginning the first of the month as well.
Okay.
And then something really cool, our applications are still open for seasonal conservation aids and those positions. Those are 3 and 6 month vacancies in Elko, and it's really a great opportunity for folks that are interested in a potential wildlife biologist position to get some time, their boots in the field, and get some experience out there and see what it's really all about. So you can find more information about that on the state application website. You could probably also call the front office, and any of the guys would be willing to talk to you about what those positions entail. And we do have positions in Elko available.
That's great news. Again, that's for seasonal conservation aid positions. And as you said, that's a foot in the door if that's always been your dream.
Yeah.
So.
And it's, we see some of them come back. Some of them move on to other agencies or in a different area. But it's really cool to make those connections and see those students, because a lot of them are students that are going through school still, to be able to get out there and experience what the biologists are doing.
Yeah.
Helping them out.
What a huge difference it makes for Nevada Department of Wildlife. And then coming up on our last topic today, still an opportunity to help look for birds.
It's always about looking for birds, which I feel like I do a lot of.
I love looking for birds.
I do too. And I didn't grow up doing that. I mean, I've always been into wildlife and everything, but birds were birds. I never paid much attention to them unless something very unique was going on. But I will say probably the last 10 or 15 years, they're just so much more intriguing to me. They were when I was much younger. And I love having them come into my yard. And so with that, this just falls right in line with anybody that has those same feelings about them. But so NDOW, we're continuing to work with the Audubon to help resurvey the migratory shorebird sites across the Intermountain West. And that'll go through April. We're on our 4th year of these surveys, and the results, they'll be compared to surveys from about 30 years ago to assess the changes in the habitat, the distribution, as well as the abundance of the shorebirds. If that's something that you would like to help us out with, you can contact the Bristlecone Audubon Society, and they can kind of help and guide you on how you can help with that.
It's funny because people might not think that we have this occurrence of shorebirds, but we actually have quite a few species here in the sagebrush ocean.
We really do. We are right in line with a lot of the migratory paths. Our Argenta WMA over in Battle Mountain, when that migration period hits in the spring, it is incredible. There'll be so many birds out there that you can almost not hear yourself think. You can't talk. I mean, when you're talking with somebody, you have to talk at a much higher volume because there's just so much activity out there. So we really are. We've got a lot of the migratory birds that come through here. And
that is an NDOW project, by the way. Again, an example of this great collaboration we have. I was just reading too about the Elk Foundation and the Steptoe Valley, the enhancement of that wildlife area there. That's just huge news.
It really is.
For conservation care and for sportsmen and women, and just taking care of that landscape for future generations.
It really is.
Yeah.
We got to save it for somebody else to watch later on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to hear those birds.
Yeah.
So again, contact Bristlecone Audubon, and that's local.
It is. Yep.
Perfect.
It is. Yeah, you
right.
can find them on Facebook. And they meet regularly at the NDOW office once a month.
Oh, that's nice
Yep.
to know. Lois Ports and the gang. All right. Talking with Julie Gabrielson. Again, some dates to look forward to, some things that will be happening, of which the community is invited to participate.
Yes. So again, we're assisting with the Great Basin Bird Observatory, GBBO, with a Pinyon Jay Blitz, and that's going to be coming up in June. The details are still kind of being fleshed out, but we do know that there's going to be an introduction, a meet and greet of sorts at the NDOW office the afternoon of Friday, June 13th, and then a field survey on Saturday, June 14th. We should have more details for you next month when I come back in, but that's something to put on your radar and look forward to.
Oh, Julie, thanks so much again to look forward to. This is kind of the transition time for everybody, waiting on the weather, being prepared for the weather. If you do like to adventure outdoors, and who doesn't? I mean, that's why we live in the Great Basin. Just make sure you're prepared for changing conditions.
Absolutely. Be smart, be safe, and have fun doing it is what I always like to say. It really is. Everything can change so quickly this time of year. You know, we go out, even if we're just driving around first thing in the morning, everything's frozen. Come midday, it's starting to thaw out quite a bit, and you might find yourself getting stuck. Make sure people know where you're at and what time you're planning to be back. Make sure you've got the tools needed. I tend to get in trouble once in a while, especially when I'm backpacking. I like to have what I might not need instead of needing what I might not have. And sometimes that overloads me a little bit. But it really is not a terrible theory to live by when you're out there, because you just don't always know. So, be prepared for what you might encounter when you're out there.
And if you do need some tips or you'd like to explore any of these other topics, Nevada Department of Wildlife has great social media.
We do. Yeah. You can find stuff on not just our YouTube and Instagram, but our Facebook and Instagram, but also on YouTube. And we actually have some educational videos on our YouTube page that you can find.
And they're always family friendly, age appropriate. So
they are.
Yeah. Great. Julie, thanks so much for the time, and have a great month. And we'll see you when you check back in.
All right. We'll see you next month.